Yeah. Well, let's move over back to the mainstream again about how loyalty programs are being used by hotel groups, and uh, particularly larger hotel groups that has the sort of the luxury brand aspect. Some of them have been taking advantage of that. They have this ultra luxury brand in their portfolio, and then these are being used to burn points. And what is your view on that's being used as a tool to entice people to use their hotel group and their loyalty programs?
No, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that I'm not the only one that sees this game going on. Look, points create a huge, what's known as a contingent liability on the balance sheet of airlines or car rental companies or hotels. So, the accountants running those companies, want those points to be spent, to be burned, so that liability goes down. And obviously, we're being simplistic here. If we can say that a night in an ultra luxury brand within the group burns off, 7 times the number of points that a night in a mid-scale hotel, possibly where that point was earned. This is the interesting thing. The road warriors who are doing 200 nights a year on the road are often staying in, let's say more mid-market properties, but they're earning their points through volume of stays rather than the value of the stay. But when it comes to, darling, I've got all these points, should we go to South Beach for the weekend? They trade up to an ultra luxury hotel. It's a win for almost everybody apart from the brand. Because, obviously the owner gets a reduced, ADR on that booking. But he or she gets occupancy, but possibly at times when it's difficult. The hotel brand or the loyalty program, manages to burn off a whole load of points. The traveler is cocky because they get to stay in a fancy pants hotel and not the one they spend their life in during the week. But I had a personal experience of this recently in a hotel, actually in Miami South Beach, where I checked in with my wife and son, and we couldn't believe the people that were in the lobby, that were around the pool. This is one of the more famous ultra luxury hotel brand names, and yet the people in the hotel were not, without being snobby about it, but they were not the people that were what we would imagine would be in that hotel. And we'd paid premium rate to be there. It's a bit like if you've paid $6,000 to fly from London to New York in British Airways first class, and then someone is upgraded from economy, as the doors of the flight shut, you feel a bit sick about the fact that you've paid the rack rate for the flight and someone's getting it for free. But now imagine this multiplied by, hundreds of people in a hotel. You've paid for an ultra luxury hotel room, and yet the people that are in there. So this damages the brand, because brands are about, you talked about it earlier, they're about who the company you keep. They're about the people that you're seen with. And, fashion brands have had some difficulties with this over the last 10, 15 years as different, music industry segments have adopted luxury brands and, have been challenged by the kinds of people that are seen to wear them or taking a brand to the street when it didn't belong in the street. But what they've done very well is figure out how to lean into those, how to work with it rather than against it. And I'm not sure the hotel industry has figured that out. So I think, the loyalty programs are not loyalty programs. They don't create loyalty. It's a misnomer. They're actually addiction programs. They're there for people that don't want to not collect those points. It becomes a habit, and like any habit, it's addictive. It isn't building loyalty at a fundamental level, and I personally would like to see the ultra luxury brands not be part of it. I think those ultra luxury brands, were they independent, and frankly, until they're sold, and while they are still independent, Four Seasons doesn't have a loyalty program. It builds loyalty in a different way, but not a points-based loyalty program. If it was ever bought by Marriott or Hilton, God forbid, it no doubt would be plugged into one straight away. But I think they're much better off without that form of loyalty, because then it makes them rely on actually building true affinity with its guests through treating them. And although I think we don't do that as well as we could, again, one of the points I was making last week, we work so hard whilst our guest is on property, whether it's 2 nights in a city or for maybe 7 or 10 in a resort application, but we then let them go. We sort of, it's like a holiday fling in a resort or a sort of 2-night stand in a city, but we don't stay in touch, well enough. So I think CRM, and how do we bring our guests, how do we continue our relationship with them, not through a points-based mechanism, but how do we sustain a relationship that really is a relationship? How do we show up in their city? How do we remind them of the time that they had with us on holiday? I think there's a lot more we could be doing there to really create a much deeper and more enduring brand of affinity.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I have some personal experience of brands like Cartier in Dubai and maybe it was a Cartier in Paris, and how they kept sending handwritten notes to us. I mean, we're not obviously big shoppers there, but we bought once in a lifetime some item there. But we were receiving handwritten notes in a nicely handwritten with an ink pen, a proper, and a very nice paper, and they kept just saying hello and wish to come and visit us. And then once you arrive back at the shop, they are making you feel very, very welcome. And it's not like you're being pushed to buy something, but it's just that relationship building, which is an art, which I feel that some hotel brands are taking for granted, and they are not doing enough to embrace that the relationship that and the memories that was developed during their stay. They should really go much further there.
Yeah, I recently was flying to Saudi and realized I hadn't forgotten to pack a tie. So in the Terminal 3 at Heathrow, I went to the Salvatore Ferragamo shop and spent about 30 minutes picking out a tie. And I was surprised, that when I got back to my home in London a week later, there was a beautiful letter written to me on real paper by the sales guy and that was for a tie that cost, I don't know, £120 or something. You couldn't get a room in a Premier Inn for £120, but I would never get a letter from the general manager of the ultra luxury hotel, a week after I stayed, even though I might have spent, £800 or £900. So yeah, I think we're very good on property, but I just don't think we've understood that we've built a relationship. I mean, I always say we get to sleep with our customer in hotel business. Come on, it doesn't get more intimate than that. The poor guy in Ferragamo didn't get to sleep with me. I went into his store, I took a tie and I left, and still he bothered to write. Yeah. But the hotel where I have this, I eat with you, I take my clothes off in front of you in the spa, I get into bed, I shower in you. It's a very intimate relationship. But once you say goodbye to me and take my credit card and pay, I kind of don't matter. So yeah. I think there's a churn that we need to dismiss and get into that much more sustained relationship.